For the last 3 seasons in a row, Granit Xhaka has only provided 2 assists and 1 goal per season, all season long for Arsenal. That's it, not amazing? But this season, after only 7 games, he already has 3 assists and 1 goal. So what's changed? What's made him better? Well, one of the things that's quite obvious about what's changed with him is he's getting forward an awful lot more. He's playing a lot more in this left half space, getting into attacking areas. And the reason he's able to do that is because of lots of changes in the Arsenal setup and what's happened with it. So the personnel are particularly interesting. So Xhaka still gets a lot of touches in these deep areas because he likes to run around and help out as being a pivot to make sure that the ball can be moved. When the ball's gone, it's here. So when they're moving the ball around, Xhaka is always making sure he's available and in space to play a 1 or 2 touch pass into someone else to help the ball move forward. That's what he does very well. And in the past, what's happened is that players like Tierney would be in the past here. He will overlap and go in here, and when that happens, obviously you leave a lot of space in this position. So what Xhaka naturally does is drop in here to play on that left side. So he'd create something of like a back 3 next to 2 defenders like this, and that's what they've done in the past. But it's all changed now. So what happens is with players like Zinchenko having been in the team, put him back in, is that in build-up, what happens is that they maybe still have Xhaka here next to Partey as part of a double pivot. But then when they get further up the pitch, what happens is Partey goes to be part of a 3 with Zinchenko and Ben White like this. So you create your 2 and your 3, and that means that there's room for Xhaka to get forward up the pitch. So your left wingers Martinelli, your right wingers Saka, Jesus and Odegaard, and they all swap about. So Odegaard will be in this side here, Xhaka will be in this side here, and that's what they've been doing. And you can see it in the data that shows us what difference Xhaka's actually made to his play style. Now, one of the things that's really interesting is that he has helped create as many shot-creating actions per 90 in the Premier League this season as Kevin De Bruyne and Mohamed Salah. Now, you think of Xhaka as being this not very mobile, central kind of defensive midfielder. That's what you think of him being, but he's far more advanced these days, and you can see it in like data. So that here, this is his touches in the Premier League this season, and that's what you'd think, right? Mostly in his own half. That's what you've got, a little bit more in this attacking phase here, but still very much supporting attacks Arsenal would have in this thing. But when you compare it to what he's doing last season, oh baby, what a difference. Far fewer touches in his own half here. It's 6.1 fewer per 90. And then when you move into here, the blue ones are the ones that show where he's doing more of it. So he's having more of the ball in this very attacking area here, the left wing, far more near the corner flag, far more in this space here. He's getting in the box a lot more than he used to. He never used to do that. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder now. It started towards the end of last season. That's the thing that's changed with it. But one of the reasons you can do this is because they've created these tactical bits and pieces within the structure of Arsenal's team that mean that when he goes forward, he's not leaving gaps at the back unprotected. So, for example, when you have Zinchenko playing at left back, he's not really a left back, is he? He plays in midfield an awful lot. So Zinchenko will often even turn up on the right of midfield here. So in the past, what you'd maybe have is Xhaka would drop into this left side, but they don't do that anymore. What instead happens is that maybe Martinelli will cover and drop back a little bit. But what's basically happening is when Zinchenko's here and Partey's here, it's making sure that they're covering this part of the pitch. This half space deeper is protected by a player like Zinchenko, so Xhaka can get forward. If Zinchenko is going wide like this and Xhaka moves forward like this, you're going to leave that huge space here, which obviously is a big problem if you turn over the ball and then the other team can attack you. So that's what they couldn't do in the past. And the benefit to having players like Zinchenko and this new setup with a 2-3 or whatever Arsenal do, because it changes a lot from game to game, is that other teams, when they're scouting Arsenal, don't know exactly what they're going to do. So it might be that when Tierney plays, as he did against Brentford, Tierney still goes on the outside because Brentford play with a back 5. So Tierney was trying to isolate this wing back here. Martinelli kept going through the middle, and that meant that when Arsenal came forward, Xhaka could turn up in this left half space and get beyond the last man, create an overload. So Arsenal was focusing a lot of their play on the right hand side, doing this sort of thing, where they would build up play from the back, with Xhaka moving in and out of space to make sure that they've got like a 3 in build up here. Tierney would try and isolate the right wing back. That brings players over here, while Arsenal try and attack and overload Brentford on one side of the pitch, which brings the midfield over, which then leaves this big gap for Xhaka to get into. And they can do that because they've got the players in position. I can show you how they score, or how they almost score from very early on in the game. Now, this is against Brentford, but just about a minute in, you see. This is the back 2. This is Xhaka alongside his pals here. Tierney's somewhere over here, don't worry about him. But what we see Xhaka do is just get involved with everything. He's constantly controlling the ball. So a stat about Xhaka is that since he joined Arsenal in 2016, only 2 players have had more touches of the ball in that entire time than him, Cesar Azpilicueta and Andy Robertson, and only 1 player has made more passes, and that's Azpilicueta. He's involved constantly. He's at the heart of everything. That's why he plays for Arsenal so much. Here he is, doing that thing. Lots of touches, lots of passes, 1 touch, 2 touch, always moving, ducking and moving into space, always in space, to make sure that he's allowing someone an option. When someone else receives the ball, he automatically moves somewhere to create the network. So you can see that here, there's a pass in here, there's a pass in here. He's already thinking of that network here. Now Arsenal shift players over to the right-hand side. Xhaka's on this side, he's rotated with Partey here. And you can see that they're building. Saka's on the ball over in this right wing here, after Xhaka's clever pass out to him, and they are attacking this right side. Here's Martinelli, the left winger, who's moved over to this side. They're trying to drag them over. It's a tactical ploy. Here's Tierney on his own over here. Now what happens is they attack on this side, Xhaka's over here, and you see, because Tierney's dragged this guy so far away from the rest of the defence, it's created a big space. So it looks a little bit like this on the board. This is what we see. They're all dragged over to the right-hand side. Xhaka's round about here, when you think he'd normally be here next to Partey. Bit of unpredictability helps build attacks. That's what you want. That's what they're trying to do. And so Brentford are more like this, like all tight to them here. And the space has been created between the wing back and the right centre back because Tierney's staying so wide. So rather than playing inside the midfield like this, he's deliberately dragging this player wide because it allows players like Xhaka to get into this space between them. And that's what's going to happen. Xhaka's going to go roughly from over here over to here. That's what's going to happen in a minute. Now, he starts to move because he spots that this is what the move is doing. The ball moves back, I think, from Vieira to Partey in here. And as Arsenal have the ball here, naturally Brentford start to retreat. They want to get back into their shape, so they start going. Where Xhaka pulls over to this little bit of the pitch here. Now Jesus will pull over here. Martinelli's round about him as well. Vieira will be in amongst it. Saka's wide right to try and do the same thing on the opposite side, which drag these players apart. The midfield's got to get back in position as soon as they can, and they try and do that. But by the time they get to here, Gabriel's pushed up into midfield, dragging a player with him. He receives the ball and carries it into the middle of the pitch here. Arsenal just pushing forward like this. Now what this does now with Gabriel on the ball, it means that Xhaka can run ahead of him. Tierney's keeping this guy separate to keep this space. Jesus moves into here, and this guy should go with Xhaka, but he can't because he's got to hold the midfield line. You want to hold this shape, 5-3-2. That's what you're trying to keep the whole time. If he goes with Xhaka, he's going to create more space for Gabriel to run into, so you don't want to do that. Instead he stays. Xhaka runs in here, but the ball goes into Jesus, clever little disguise. He then plays it in here, Xhaka comes in, and then he's in the box to be able to put a ball across the box to a teammate. I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Yeah, here we go. So they're over on the right-hand side here. Here's Tierney creating the space. Xhaka's here. He's going to make the run in behind here. Here's the midfielder who loses track of him. Gabriel stepped up, dragging the striker back. You think the pass is coming in here, but it doesn't. It's disguised into this forward. The forward then takes 1 touch, threads it through, and that puts Xhaka clean in. There's just divided them with really clever passing and moving. Then Xhaka is in an attacking position and slides the ball back across for a shot creating action, which is why he's so high up on this list. So these sorts of movements are things he never used to really do. Now he's doing them a lot, and that's why he's getting in so many attacking positions to be able to do that. But Xhaka is still at his base abilities. The things he does best are like helping progress the ball from the back, being in the middle of the pitch to help with ball progression. That's what he does. And we can see like his assist in this game against Brentford is an example of how he's doing far more going forward as well. So if we look at where this move begins for the goal that Arsenal scored, the second goal, Jesus heads it in. Here he is. This is Granit Xhaka always offering a pass. So whenever his team moves onto the ball, he moves into space to always be able to receive it. Brentford want to try and close him down. Now, the ball goes back to Thomas Partey here. Xhaka stays in position here. You can see Arsenal get Tierney going forward, do the same thing again. That's what they're trying to do. Players move inside the pitch. This is Saka, the right winger, coming inside. Jesus is dropped deep. This is what they're trying to do. Drag them all over the place. Play progresses on the right-hand side again. This is what they're doing on here. So Vieira, and you've got the players all around him over here, dragging players over here. Xhaka's moved into space. It looks a little bit like this on the board. So it helps having players like Gabriel in your team, players who can play these lovely passes into players like Martinelli, who drops in this position. So this is the build up to the second goal Arsenal score against Brentford. You see what Xhaka does. Now you think he'd be next to Partey in this double pivot, but because Martinelli receives the ball here, as soon as he receives this, it drops in. So everyone's movement is linked to someone else's movement. When Martinelli's here and moves inside, that means that Tierney has to go here because it creates the space that you want. It's like a trigger. As soon as he comes inside, he moves in. But you see the move starts here and it goes to Martinelli. Xhaka drops in to form the triangle. This is what you want to have, these sorts of things. You want to create these angles all the time so that the ball can move really clearly. He's always doing this, moving from here to here to here to make sure there's little triangles all over the pitch. So the ball then will naturally come into Xhaka. As that happens, Martinelli moves inside, Tierney goes, that's what you have, to drag the right wing back across, and then they do the same thing, they drag everyone over to the right hand side. So you're going to eventually see that everyone's over on this side of the pitch. It looks like this. Here we go, here's Xhaka here, moved into the form that triangle you see that you want. Here's Tierney just going to go on the overlap. The ball comes in to Thomas Partey. Everyone else starts to shift to the right-hand side, including Martinelli, who moves from the left wing over to this side of the pitch. Now, Xhaka is now going to do what a midfielder does and just patrol the area. He has to stay here because Tierney is all the way up here, so there's no one in this space. That's why he has to stay here. Plays build up on this right-hand side. You've got Fabio Vieira moving over to this side here as well. They're just controlling the pitch. Brentford are being pulled back, pulled all the way over to the right-hand side. And the ball is going to come over eventually to Xhaka. Again, look at the space that's been created by Tierney over here. So the midfield's going to drop in again a little bit. It's exactly the same sort of thing happening, but this time, rather than Xhaka being the last line, he's playing slightly behind. But again, he's not level with Partey. Look where Partey is on this example. He's back here. Partey then controls this part of the pitch. Xhaka moves forward, so it's better patrolled back here. Xhaka can come into this bit here, and that's where he can then do things that he didn't used to do, like get to this position and curl the ball to the back post for Gabriel Jesus to head in. Like you can sort of see it better if I do it on the board here. So Xhaka helps out, moves the ball over, then what happens is everyone else shifts over to deal with the players on the other side of the pitch, including Vieira over here. So what happens is the midfield comes over, centre midfielder left over here, Vieira's on the ball, Partey's in the middle back here, Ben White will be supporting, never going too far, Saliba and Gabriel, so they've got control this part of the pitch. It's all about having control of the pitch. So Xhaka is going to be on the left side, Martinelli comes over here as well, so likes doing that. Tierney is over here creating the space, the same space that they created before, so Xhaka can then move into this area. But because this time, as we say, the ball comes into Xhaka, who's just waiting in space the whole time, he's over here, he ends up playing a 1-2 with Tierney, plays it back, so Tierney's over here, ball comes into him, he comes back to Xhaka, moves up. This is the space. Again, Brentford come back to try and get back into their shape. By the time they do, it's too late because Xhaka then able to use a very cultured left foot that he has for Jesus and Martinelli to attack at the back post. Jesus comes in, there you go. And that results in a lovely, lovely goal. And that's the goal they score, right? But it goes back even further because Xhaka was built up, like part of the build up to this even. It'll show you what he was doing. So here he is in the middle of the pitch. Again, Brentford staying tight to him. They know that no one has more touches of the ball than Xhaka, this entire team. He's always involved with everything. He's so important to them. Here he is patrolling. And then when he receives the ball from Partey, he's always ready. So to get the space here, what he does is he makes one movement to the left to throw this player back, then goes back to the right. So he's gained one little half yard of space to receive this ball from Partey so he can then take it on the turn and distribute it back over to here. And that starts the move. Just that one little nudge to the left, goes into the right to create the space to receive the ball, turns it in, that creates the space. Look how much space they've suddenly got, and they've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players out of the game with that one little move. Arsenal come forward, Xhaka spots that Tierney's going to make this overlapping run, so he sprints to be back in the position, and that position is exactly where he is as we start this whole move. It's all Xhaka from the very start, controls everything, controls the tempo, moving in and out of space, far more, well, not more mobile than he used to be. He's not a very fast man, but he works perfectly within the system, and Arteta's found a way to get far more out of him, and that's why he's creating so many chances, and that's why he's been such a much better player for Arsenal this season. That's it. That's all the reasons. There's probably lots more. He's very good, Granit Xhaka, and if you like him and the video, hit the like button, and then subscribe to the channel so you can get all of the videos all of the time. Goodbye!
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic brings you the best sports journalism in the world in a personalised experience, connecting you with the stories and teams that you care about the most. There's coverage of 13 sports, plus direct access to world-class journalists through live Q&As, discussions and podcasts. And you can try it now for free for 30 days by clicking the link in the description.